Hey everyone, welcome to Roto World's Roundball Stew. I am Matt Stroup. It is Monday, November 7th, the start of week 4 of the NBA season, and today we're going to be rounding up some of the news and key injury updates from over the weekend. Plus, we will have some updated waiver wire moves of note and some players to once again consider dropping. All of that and more is coming up as I'm joined by Steve Alexander and Raphielle Johnson. Guys, as we get ready for check the scoreboard. 15-game Monday night here. That's gonna be a fun one for whoever's writing player news blurbs on Roto World this evening. Who is that? Do we
Pretty
know?
much all of us, I think.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
volunteered for a couple games, so
Yeah.
yeah.
It's supposed to be Zach and I.
Okay.
I was not unaware of this 15-game nonsense
Yeah.
until you just now broke it to me, Matt.
It's a big,
I know that's
well,
hard for you to believe.
yeah. Well, you were also unaware that you were podcasting here until 26 minutes ago. So, I mean, look, that's just kind of what we do here, right? On Mondays.
Yeah, I woke up in a panic. Everybody would be
Yeah.
happy to know my alarm came through 4 minutes after I woke up and let me know
Big
that
time.
I was podcasting today. So I'd also like to give a little shout out to the Tennessee Titans and Paul George, so that I don't have to explain to my wife why I have to sell one of my cars today. They pulled me out of the gutter, Matt. It was amazing.
Gotcha.
Amazing.
That's congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. All right, let's get into this. We got some injuries to talk about off the top here before we get into some other items on our list. Let's start with an injury in Toronto. Pascal Siakam, as you have probably heard, is out indefinitely due to a right adductor strain, according to Blake Murphy of Sportsnet. He's set to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Now, enter possibly Christian Koloko, 11 points, 7 boards, 2 dimes, 6 blocks on Sunday, Raf. Is this as simple as it looks, where run and grab Koloko if you had Siakam, or just if you have a roster spot?
I think it is pretty simple. He also played 31 minutes last night.
Yeah.
That's encouraging when you consider the presence of Precious Achiuwa and Chris Boucher.
Mhm.
So I think if Koloko can get that type of playing time, he can be really helpful to a fantasy roster, especially if you're in need of block shots. The 6 blocks, as you mentioned on Sunday, I'm not expecting too much from him offensively, but the rebounds and the blocks are where I think you can get some value there.
I'm going with my man Chris Bosh, aka Chris Boucher,
Sure.
over Koloko, only because he's getting stuff done in his limited minutes. His body language is right this year. It seems like Nick Nurse likes him this year. Now, I love that line by Koloko on Sunday, the 31 minutes, the 6 blocks, 11.7 boards, 2 assists. It's all there. But the minutes were so shaky before that. I guess I need to see it another time or two before I'm all in.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about sorry, I'm laughing because Hollow Man in the chat says, I remember Matt laughed at me when I mentioned Koloko on Friday. We weren't, in fairness, we're laughing
Were you
necessarily.
laughing at him, Matt? Were you laughing
No,
at him?
we were
or
just
with
like,
him?
oh wow. We were just like, oh wow, a Koloko question. But I mean, we were happy to answer it. But I think he was 1% rostered at that time. Now he's up to 18%. So to your point, Steve, Boucher, yeah, makes sense to have him, but he already kind of had that standalone value. Now suddenly we may see Koloko get a big boost, and you will not find many guys on waivers who can get 6 blocks in any given game. So yeah, I think we pick him up and see where it goes from here, even if the minutes could potentially be a little hit or miss there. Let's go to Phoenix now. Some rough injury news there. Cameron Johnson, who recently had that big 29-point game, has a torn meniscus and is headed for surgery. The timetable there is TBD, and Raf, just brutal news here. I mean, first things first, is there anywhere to really turn in fantasy? Because with Jay Crowder banished, we saw Torrey Craig start on Saturday, and he had a decent stat line, but I think we've lived the Torrey Craig experience long enough to know we can't get too excited there.
Yeah, I don't think there's a straightforward answer. Craig would be the closest one to that because he's starting, but like you mentioned, you pretty much know what you're going to get, and you're not expecting too much there. Dario Saric played 21 minutes, I want to say, on Saturday. Was that a factor of this? Was that a reason for this game being a blowout, or is he going to get that type of playing time moving forward? I don't know there. We've got Josh Okogie. I think he's a poor man's version of Craig when it comes to fantasy value. You know you're not going to get much, so why even go through it? So, yeah, I don't really know if there's one guy to take. I think, if anything, you're just hoping that Mikal Bridges can pick up his production even more.
I will say that the Cam Johnson injury is one of the sadder ones of this season for me, because everything was coming together for him, and he was starting to roll. I actually had Cam and Pascal Siakam in my FanDuel lineup when they both went down on Friday night. So if you guys want to blame me for those injuries, I can take it. I'm kind of intrigued by the whole Damian Lee thing. 28 minutes, didn't do a ton, had that huge game to kick off the season. I think I'm keeping an eye on Damian Lee. Yes, we have all run the gamut with Torrey Craig, Matt, but
yeah,
he had a steal. He had 3 blocks. He had a 3-pointer. He had 5 rebounds. He had 4 assists. Like let's not just totally trash Torrey Craig's gigantic 22-minute line on Sunday.
No, it was a great line. I think just don't.
And I think in
DFS,
like I think in DFS, if you can plug Torrey Craig in there for $3,700 or whatever he costs, I mean, it's worth a flyer.
Sure. There's not any chance at this point that they're like, hey, Jay, do you want any interest in coming back out there? I feel like someone's got to make an awkward phone call in Phoenix right now and see if they can mend things with Jay Crowder, right, Raph? You're muted.
I think that ship has sailed, man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, fair enough. It's a real bummer, like you said, Steve, because there just does not feel like an obvious kind of fantasy beneficiary here, first of all. And, fantasy managers waited out that kind of minutes cap for Cam Johnson early. He was just getting going. The guy you drafted as a late round gem was just starting to look exactly like that, and now he's out for who knows how long. So it stinks. Some point guard related news. Damian Lillard, as of this taping, is questionable for Monday. That's one to keep an eye on. And Steve Clifford told Rod Boone of the Charlotte Observer that LaMelo Ball is very close to returning, but he has been ruled out for Monday. Anyways, 2 big point guards getting close there, so we'll wait and see. But I want to turn some other point guard related news, and this is not injury related. This is Russell Westbrook has actually been playing relatively well off the bench for the Lakers. His last 5 games off the bench, 18.8 points, 5.8 boards, 7.2 dimes, a steal, 0.6 blocks, 2 threes, 50% from the floor, 75 from the free throw line, 5 turnovers per game. What are your thoughts here, Raph? Can we actually trust this version of Russ in fantasy?
I don't know if trust is the right word, but I'm coming around here. The turnovers are a concern, but it seems to this point he's accepted the new role coming off the bench. My one concern is that they're a bit banged up on the perimeter. Lonnie Walker injured his wrist during Sunday's loss to the Cavaliers. He went back into the game, but I don't know, maybe what happens with Monday night. And also you've got Anthony Davis questionable, LeBron James probable. Is this a spot where they move Russ back into the starting lineup, at least for one game? That wouldn't be great, but I think with the new bench role, he's become somewhat relevant fantasy-wise after a really rough start to the season.
Well, the thing that blows me away about the Lakers, first of all, they're 2-7. They're still not winning games, even with Russ being better off the bench. But now they're trying to make Troy Brown Jr. relevant in the NBA, which the Washington Wizards tried to do that for years and never could. And somehow
we tried for years on the Waiver Wire podcast.
Yes, and somehow it's all happening. Like Troy Brown Jr. is like you have to think about picking him up, which is just weird to even say. And Ralph, to your point about Lonnie Walker, he only played 19 minutes on Sunday, and I'm a little worried about his wrist as well. And Westbrook, 19-10 with 7 turnovers. I mean, Westbrook's I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time talking about him because he's rostered everywhere. But if you got him, and this move to the bench is actually a good thing for him. I mean, he's going to be better with the second unit than he was with the first. I think that's pretty clear.
Man, to Raph's point though, I want no part of him going back in that starting lineup as far as fantasy is concerned. This version of Russ is just fine if you're rostering him. He's really only wrecking you in one of those three categories where he can kind of bring you down, and turnovers, I mean, that's okay. 5 is a just gigantic soul crushing number. But anyways, let's just keep Russ right where he is right now. And also in LA, Ivica Zubac, his early season surge continued with a couple of strong games over the weekend. That includes a 17-point, 15-rebound, 4-block effort on Friday. That was his 4th game already with 4 or more blocks this season. Now, I think many of us were advocating for Zubac as a nice pick outside of the top 100 because he was a guy who had very little competition at his position. A low-end, solid, serviceable guy to draft. But, man, he's been way better than expected through his first 10 games. 10.2 points, 11.3 boards, 0.6 steals, 2.6 blocks in 30 minutes. Steve, is this Zubac here to stay? Like, what do you believe what you're seeing right now?
Well, Raph and I were on a podcast. I don't know. I assume you were also there, Matt.
Maybe.
Or maybe Raph and I were just talking one night while we were working together. I'm not sure
with microphones.
He was like, this Zubac thing is fake. He's never finished inside the top 100. He's like 50th right now or 60th or something. And the wheels are going to fall off. And this is a sell high moment on Zubac. And I, of course,
Raph's calling for a timeout. Raph's calling for a 20 here. What?
Yeah,
Raph?
This is a blatant exaggeration of what was said. Now, I didn't say anything about the wheels falling off, but I did mention a possibility of selling high at the time. But that was when we thought that Kawhi Leonard would be a relative constant in the lineup.
Oof.
Now that doesn't seem to be the case. He's going to be out tonight. There's no determination as to when he'll be able to return. And then you're looking at load management again. So I think at this point, the sell high opportunity for Zubac has kind of gone away. I think you have to hold on to him if you have him, because we don't know what Leonard's going to be able to give them when he comes back.
All right. Well, I can appreciate that. I like that take. The thing is of course I did a video about selling high on Zubac, and he had 12 points and 18 boards on October 27th, and then on Sunday, October 30th, he had 4 points, 6 boards, and 2 blocks. I was like, here it is. Everything that I imagined Raph said is coming to fruition. He's done. And then he had like 5 points and 6 boards and 1 block. So he's had a couple weird off nights.
Yeah, sure.
He's also had a lot of really good nights. His last game, he had a block and 3 steals. It's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. And to the point of this whole story, he's never been a top 100 guy in the past. But like Raph said, with Kawhi Leonard now being exactly who we thought he was and not playing, Zubac looks like a keeper. He's going to have probably the best year of his career this season.
And look, I mean, last year he was 10.3 points, 8.5 boards, and a block. This year, the scoring's about the same. The boards are up a bit, and the blocks are up a lot. If there's one category I'm a little skeptical on, him staying close to these levels, it's the blocks. But look, I mean, from 2.6, you can fall off quite a bit and still be very valuable in that category. We could cut those in half. I'll, you know what I mean? We might only get 1.3 per game, which would be a slight improvement on last year. He would have to drop off a lot for that to happen. But even if he did, that's fine. You got a double-double guy with a block and change per game. Even that would be just real solid considering where you drafted him.
You know what's wild is he did not have a steal in any of his first 6 games. Right? And since then, he's gone steal, 3 steals. So in four games, he has 6 steals. In 6 games, he had 0. And
those are pretty much gravy, I think, when it comes to this guy also.
Yeah.
As far as what you're expecting. So let's stick with the other guy you brought up, Kawhi Leonard. The timetable still unclear there. We did get an update last week via Young Misuk of ESPN with Ty Lue saying Kawhi is, quote, doing better and moving in a positive direction. So that's great, right? Great news there, Raph. What? I don't know. I mean, what do we do here? What's going
Like
on?
how fast is he moving in this positive direction?
Yeah.
Could be like a tortoise versus the hare type situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried to avoid Kawhi in all my drafts and was
Yep.
successful in doing so. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. If you have him rostered, you're hoping that it's sooner rather than later. But I don't know, but it's not like you can just drop the guy. You just kind of have to hold out and wait and see what happens. And even then, I thought Norman Powell was someone you can probably cover your bases with. He's really struggled to start this season.
Yeah.
Terrence Mann struggled as well. So you're in a tough spot. If you had Leonard and you picked one of those two guys to kind of help cover yourself while he sits.
Matt, do you know anyone who panic picked Kawhi Leonard in any
Top of my head?
draft?
No, I can't think of anyone specifically who did that in a 14-team company league where they had the number one pick and then got to pick 29 and their queue had been decimated and they, for some reason, took Kawhi over some other very good players. No, don't know anyone. Nobody I know.
Dude, the thing about that update from Ty Lue, it's the same update every time. Like, oh yeah, we're moving in a positive direction. Things are looking up. He's got a great attitude. Where is Kawhi? Where is Kawhi Leonard? It's the same old, same as it ever was. As the legendary David Byrne once said, Matt. I'm afraid I don't have a lot of pity for people who drafted Kawhi Leonard because this is what he does. So.
Yeah. Well, and you don't have that much empathy in general as a human being, in fairness.
I mean, I'm really not a very empathetic human being. You're right.
Raph, you mentioned covering your bases, and you mentioned the guys who have not been coming through. I keep saying the one guy who is, I feel like, is Marcus Morris, who at least, nothing close to what Kawhi would give you, but I do think he's benefiting and playing 35-plus minutes lately. So I like him as kind of the pivot to try to hold it down while you're waiting patiently.
Did you get him? Do you have him in that?
No. And the funny thing about that team, I know no one wants to hear about this roster. I actually like my roster in that league. Other than that one thing, I think I had a pretty good draft. Like I like my team. I did just lose Siakam, so that's a bummer. Damn. But I got Koloko. So should I just give you guys a blow by blow of that roster? Should we just go down?
You've got Koloko. You've got Koloko on that team.
I did just pick up Koloko.
That team sounds incredibly relevant to this podcast.
It is. It's intentional. I didn't engineer all these podcasts to be about one of my fantasy rosters. All right. One other Western Conference trend that I wanted to cover. Jabari Smith Jr. has had some brutal shooting so far. As you may have noticed, 30.5% from the floor early on almost 12 attempts per game. What's the approach here, Raph? I mean, is this one as simple as it seems and just stay patient? We know he's better than this, and we think this is an early season outlier, or do you see anything that alarms you?
I think you have to stay patient. But the thing is, like you said, he's been really bad in terms of percentages. Tari Eason's been a better rookie in terms of fantasy production thus far, and he's coming off the bench. So I think with Smith, you're in a situation where you're just going to have to deal with the low field goal percentage for now. You could put him on your bench and wait for things to kind of turn around, but I don't think you can just drop him by any means. That whole team has been really bad, as a matter of fact. So I don't really know. I don't know what's going on down there. We knew that Houston wasn't going to be a very good team, but they aren't developing. And that's a big concern when you're talking about a rebuild.
But we are, we got Eric Gordon getting plenty of minutes, so that's the good news, Raph.
Yeah.
We've got the guy who holds it all together, Eric Gordon. Steve speechless.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. has been fun and been really good this season. Şengün is actually doing what we thought he might do last year, so that's good.
That is cool.
Jalen Green has not been doing what we thought he was going to do, but he was better, a little bit better in his last game. So there's signs of hope down there. They are 1-9. They are currently one of the front runners in the Wemby sweepstakes. So there's that. But yeah, if you drafted him, it just stinks, and you can't really drop him. The good news, there's 15 games tonight. You can bench him tonight, and let's hope things look better on Tuesday.
Here's my optimistic angle on this. Even with the awful shooting, this is still guys averaging around 11.6 boards, 1.2 blocks, 1.9 threes, and shooting 89% from the free throw line. So not everything is broken here. He's missing a bunch of shots, and this is a really, really, really good shooter in college, right? What do you shoot, like 42% on three-pointers?
Yeah.
I think that there is a path for him to get that field goal percentage into the low 40s at some point here. And I think he's going to be plenty valuable. He'd be a buy low for me in fantasy. I really think he would. Now, not necessarily a buy low to jam directly into your lineup, but a buy low to, just stash and wait a couple weeks and hope it gets better. Because, I think really good player, really, really still like the player. And it's not like everything is totally cratering. It's just the field goal percentage.
Now, he did not play in his last game, right? He was
Jabari.
He was sick.
I think he's fine. I did look at this. He's had
probable.
an illness.
He's probable.
Yeah, he's probable today.
Yeah.
Illness, not injury. In that last game. And did he shoot a combined? Oh boy, look at these field goal. 2 for 8, 2 for 8, 1 for 10. Yeah, I mean, bench on 15 game night, I would say is a good call. And then if he goes for 20 and 8, you can say, oh, nice.
Man, I don't recall a 15-game night in the history of me working for RotoWorld, which stems like 22 years.
The history of time.
And usually that final Wednesday of the season, there's like 14, maybe 13. But a fifth, like every single team is playing tonight.
It's crazy. There's some tough lineup decisions out there for people.
I need to go take a nap.
You do. But can we finish the podcast first?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We have more to come, including some waiver wire leftovers, including a name in Houston and some potential drops. But first, a quick break. Want to remind you to download the RotoWorld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your telephone. It is available in your app store today. And just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college football, on the PGA Tour, and in Premier League. There is also $100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Chargers and 49ers in our Sunday Night 7 contest. Waiver wire leftovers. These are some names that we either did mention on Friday, but wanted to underline one more time, or names we didn't mention at all. And this is a guy that I feel like we mentioned every waiver wire podcast. We've also mentioned him on this podcast. It's Tari Eason, who had a big game Saturday, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 2 dimes, a steal, 2 triples. The minutes and points, Raph, in that game, the most of his young career. I just feel like with this team being as bad as they are, right, it's only a matter of time before Eason is consistently getting enough minutes to be like just a must play in fantasy, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that completely. I think, as you mentioned, he's been playing better basketball, and I don't think Houston wants to go like 1-81 or anything like that. So he's gonna get the play because
bad for morale.
Yeah, he's proven to be one of their better players thus far. So I think he's one that's worth picking up. I think KJ Martin's worth a look as well with Jabari's struggles. So those are both two guys that you probably want to consider. I don't know about tonight just because everyone's playing, but down the line, later in the week, those are two guys you could probably consider for picking up and putting on the back end of your roster.
Yeah, Dvorchak and BT Photo both pointed out that there are no games on Tuesday because of the election.
Correct.
Yeah.
We knew. Yeah. But I still can't believe they stacked everybody on Monday instead of Monday and Wednesday. But Matt, you mentioned Eric Gordon still plugging away for the Houston Rockets. Like he's the problem. Like he's the reason that Tari Eason and KJ Martin are not automatic fantasy pickups because he's just out there clogging things up and slowing all the kids down. He's like the old man on his lawn chair screaming at the kids to get off his lawn. Like, get him out of there. send him to somebody who's trying to win a championship. Let these kids play, because I feel like if you pick up Tari Eason right now and you plug him in there on Wednesday, he's gonna have a dud. It's gonna be up and down, inconsistent, but man, there's so much potential there. I think Tari Eason is going to blow up next year.
Next year. What about this year? We need this year, Steve. We're angling for this year.
Well, I think he's going to really be the guy next year, Matt. I don't know what to tell you.
I think another issue for this week is that they only play 3 games. So I don't think you'd want to pick up Eason or even KJ Martin right now, but it's something where you watch them this week, and if they both perform well, then you look at them for next week.
I mean, I also think that Eason is the guy who I think he's like 23% rostered in Yahoo. I just feel like this is one where if you have the discipline to just keep him on your bench and say, yeah, it's not time yet, but I don't want to miss out on this one.
Yeah.
I think it's going to pay off, but you are going to have to look at some other players who are more productive this exact minute than him for a stretch, but I think it might pay off. Cam Thomas of the Nets has had 2 strong games in a row this weekend with Kyrie Irving suspended. In those 2 games, averaged 19 points, 4 boards, 5 dimes, a steal, 1.5 threes, 30-plus minutes. He's averaging in those 2 games, 35% rostered. Steve, I think there was garbage time in one of those games, certainly, but Steve, it's feeling like this is the contingency play, right? If while Kyrie Irving's out.
It's time. It is time. It's here. I picked him up everywhere I could, and I feel like this is Tari Eason last year, right? Like Cam Thomas has got to play. We need some more Cam Thomas minutes. Now we're getting him. He's here, and it's time. I'm all in on Cam Thomas. DFS, fantasy, whatever.
Yeah, it's funny that the increase in minutes came right after he posted on Instagram, free CT, because he wasn't playing. But it didn't make sense for Brooklyn to not play a first-round pick to begin with, and especially with their slow start. Why not see what you have there? Kyrie getting suspended has opened the door for even more minutes for him. And, it's not a guarantee that Kyrie's back after 5 games. He has conditions that he has to meet. So we could be looking at even longer of a stretch for Cam Thomas to be a viable fantasy guy. So, yeah, I'd be in favor of picking you up right now, too.
Bones Highland missed a couple games recently with a hip injury. Now, he bookended those missed games with a big 26-point game and a big 24-point game. That's certainly the upside that we hope to see from Bones Highland, and long overdue if you drafted him. But, Raph, do you see a higher ceiling for him consistently in the near future, or do you think we're just kind of living in a boomer bust reality with Bones?
Yeah, it's boomer bust. A lot of the damage he did against the Spurs on Saturday was in garbage time. They kind of blew that game open early. So
right.
I can't put too much into that. And you have to think that as the season progresses, we're only going to see even more of Jamal Murray in that starting role. So, yeah, if you have Bones, you hold on to him, see where that can take you. But I'm not too convinced about his ceiling with Jamal Murray there.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got Bones on a couple of my rosters, and every Monday I feel like I'm like, ooh, who can I pick up if I drop Bones Highland? And I look at the waiver wire, and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna keep him. him. And I think that's sort of who he is at this point. I like the fact that he kind of blew up in 2 straight games, because he really wasn't doing a whole lot before that. So, and the Nuggets, Nuggets are good. They're 6-3. They're going to be winning a lot of games. Hopefully he gets a lot of garbage time availability. And also Jamal Murray is not exactly a picture of health. Like who knows how many games he'll play this season. So far, so good on that front. But yeah, I mean, I'm still optimistic about old Bones.
Don't get too excited about this next one, but Brandon Clark has picked it up a little bit lately after a slow start. 13 and 16 points in his last 2 games, a total of 5 blocks. Got a season-high 21 minutes for whatever that's worth on Sunday. Now, he's 58% roster, but I have seen him get dropped in some leagues. Raph, I mean, is there anything to hang on to, do you think, with Brandon Clark? A player we've liked, but the minutes just haven't been there so far this year.
Well, Steven Adams injured his ankle during the win on Sunday. He did return to that game, but his comments about the ankle afterwards weren't too encouraging, with regard to tonight's action. So I think people are a little too quick to drop him, especially if we don't know for sure if Adams is going to be available for tonight. Memphis has a 4-game week. So I think if Clark is hanging out on your waiver wire, I think he's worth a roll of the dice. You're not going to get too much in terms of this scoring, but the rebounding and defensive potential would make him worthy of a look right now.
Yeah, I think we were all fired up about Clark until they gave Santi Aldama his role, really. And with no Jaren Jackson Jr. there, it seemed like Clark was going to be the guy this year. When we were looking at it in June or July, like, man, he's going to be a monster. But it just really hasn't happened because Aldama's getting those starters minutes and Clark is just kind of lost in the mix coming off the bench. The 7-for-8 game against the Wizards was very encouraging. He had 16 points, 5 boards, 2 blocks. We can build off that. I like how they play 4 games this coming week. Them and Houston. Houston plays 4 too, I think.
Houston's got 3, I thought.
BT Photo sent me a note.
Houston's got 4 next week.
Oh, November 14th.
Yeah.
That is next week. That's not this week.
That's next week.
This week, Memphis has 4. That's what we care about. So, Brandon Clark's worth a look but you got to have somebody who's just a dog on your roster that you want to drop to make that work.
Right. And by the way, Steven Adams, you just mentioned the other night, had a 13-19 rebound, 4 assists, 2 steal, 2 block game in 22 minutes. That is getting some things done in a short amount of time. Some players to maybe drop, and I didn't see any glaring ones. We covered this in depth, a bunch of names on a recent episode, but I do want to bring up a couple names to look at, guys. Alex Caruso had an incredible and really weird game on Sunday. 4 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks on 1 for 11 shooting. That's one of the strangest stat lines you'll see, and his peripheral numbers are really good this year. 4 assists, a steal and a half, a block, but he's averaging just 5.2 points per game. So, in like a standard size league here, what do you do, Steve? What do you do with Caruso? It feels like a serious kind of headache because you don't want to be starting a guy who's only getting you 5 points per game, but you don't want to leave stat lines like that sitting on the waiver wire either. And I think Levine was out in fairness, but what do we do with this riddle? This seems like just a weird case to me this year.
Well, Levine was out, and if Levine is out, then Caruso's fine, and you want to roll with him. If Levine is playing, I don't think you want to mess with him. And that line is a weird stat line. I'll give you that. But yeah, I'm more interested in like Pat Williams. If I'm looking at Chicago Bulls on the waiver wire, I need Levine to get bad news before I'm going out to pick up Caruso.
If you're looking for scoring from Alex Caruso, that might be a you problem as opposed to a him problem. Because we pretty much know what he is as a scorer at this point. So the other stuff is what you're looking for with him.
Yeah, that's fair. But even last year it was 7.4 points per game. I can potentially look at 8 or 9 points there if it's coming with like 4 assists and some steals, But 5, we're really pushing it with 5, and he has not had a double-digit scoring game all season. So yeah, deeper league. I think a deeper league guy and a plug and play kind of guy when Levine's out. Evan Fournier is 34% rostered. He's outside the top 209 category leagues. Raph, you're the Knicks expert. There's no reason to hold him, right? But some people are, right? We can move on here, right?
It's over.
It's over.
That's all I can say. It's over. I know Quentin Grimes is questionable tonight. He replaced Fournier in the starting lineup. And then when he sat on Saturday, Cam Reddish started and played 37 minutes. So
yeah,
unless we see Grimes get like a lengthy stretch of games where he's on the court and contributing, I don't think you touch anyone in that shooting guard role for the Knicks in fantasy.
Well, I feel like I read. I totmay could have dreamed this, but I feel like I
There's
read
a podcast that you and
Fournier.
Raph were doing together.
I feel like
You may have heard this on a Raph Steve podcast.
I feel like Fournier was like the fourth guy off the bench when he got demoted. Like they didn't even demote him into like fifth or sixth man or sixth or seventh man role. It's more like eighth man. He only got 11 minutes last game. I'm with Roth. It is over. You drop. If you haven't dropped Fournier yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go pick up Caruso.
One other name. This is an interesting one because I think for some people he was a drop earlier in the season. Now it almost feels like he's trending toward being an ad. It's Dorian Finney-Smith. First 4 games, single-digit points, but double digits in 3 of his last 4, and those last 4 look a little bit more like the DFS, who was kind of a nice end-of-roster, deeper league guy. Steve, as the Dallas Mavericks expert, what are your thoughts on Dorian Finney-Smith and the direction he's headed? More of a hold for you or waiting and seeing?
Right
on the line.
One of those guys that I think is just going to bounce on and off of waiver wires all year because, you look at his last game, 2 threes, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. That's it. Like that's not going to get it done. But the games before that, he was playing much better. Reggie Bullock is out there clogging things up. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie, they basically start a bunch of shooting guards on that team because Luka could be considered a shooting guard as well. DFS is kind of playing out of position. They're trying to play him big, power forward. But I have not picked Dorian Finney-Smith up anywhere. I'm not opposed to doing so, especially if they have a 4-game week. But he's just not. He's not a fantasy must-have player. He's got a cool nickname, DFS.
Yeah, they got 4 games this week, which will help. But I think the other thing, he's still playing about 33 minutes per game. So if you do have him, I think you hold him for that reason. That you kind of figure he'll be out there enough to give you something. But I'm with Steve. I don't think he's someone that I'm going to rush to pick up, even with his recent, turn in form.
One more note, by the way, just bringing this kind of full circle to closer to where we started. It's a Kawhi Leonard update that hit the Player News page just before we recorded here. Ty Lue said Sunday, so a more recent update. You ready? He said there isn't really a time frame for his return, and then more of the quote. We knew coming off an ACL it wasn't going to be a straight line. The biggest thing is he's progressing well. We're just going to follow the lead of our medical staff. We got to be smart about the situation. That does not sound like a guy who is particularly close to being back on the floor for LA.
No, and that sounds like a typical. We all knew coming off the surgery that this was not going to be a straight line. Did we know that, Ty? If we did,
coming off the surgery and coming off a very, very lengthy recovery too. By the way, it's not like he tore this thing 8 months ago and was rushing back. So, yeah, not good times there. Unfortunately, that's the note we're ending on, guys. That is going to do it for us. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you listen. Take a minute to rate and review us as well. We are here every Monday and Friday throughout the season, so we'll see you on Friday for some more waiver wire pickups. I want to say thanks to everyone for listening and watching live with us. Keep it tuned to the Roto World Player News page for all of your Kawhi Leonard and other news. Steve Raff, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.